What is going on, guys? Welcome to Discovering Cinema. How is everybody? John, Nerd, Eric, and Fu. Hello to all of you guys. Nice to see everyone. Ryan, how are you this week?
I'm all right. I think my kids might have got me sick again, but trying to fight my way through that. Yeah, kids suck.
Good Lord.
Stendhal's leaving. Have a good night.
Good night, Sindal. Have a good one. It was great not seeing you. Um, yeah, we have a pretty cool show. We're doing coming of age movies, um, which isn't exactly my forte. I'm not like a huge coming of age collector.
Right.
So I do have a couple picks, some movies that I feel really passionately about. Um, but yeah, do you want to do pickups?
Sure. You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. I'll do DVDs real quick. We got this is Hunter in the Dark, directed by Hideo Gosha. This never got an official release. This is or was on the Criterion channel, so
Oh,
it was
interesting.
available on the channel, but not in a physical format. Never got a DVD or anything. So happy to have that. Flip's number one coming of age is going to be Lone Wolf and Cub, because young Daigoro is forced to be around very adult situations. I want to point this out, Sindal. I want to point this out. So I've been on the fence. There's a box set. It's Shogun Assassin 1 through 5, because they made four more after the first one. They were mainly in the UK, though. It's like Lightning Swords of Death, Handful of Gold. There's a couple other titles. I went ahead and pulled the trigger and got that. That's in the mail. And then there was a steel book of Shogun Assassin that Eureka put out in 2010, dual format.
Jeez,
Yeah.
that is forever
So
ago.
I got that too.
Was that Blu-ray or was that DVD? That feels so long ago.
Blu-ray and DVD. It was dual format. Very cool. So I'm excited about that, and I'm excited to see how they do Shogun Assassin, because I know it's basically the rest of the films. But I want to see how, if they have the Daigoro voiceover as well. And then I got this movie, Saga of the Vagabonds. This stars Toshiro Mifune, but what is important is that the screenplay is by Akira Kurosawa. He didn't direct it; he wrote the screenplay.
Jeez, there's a lot
for
going
this
on with
movie.
that cover.
Yeah, a lot of Japanese covers are like that.
Yeah.
I mean, to us, it's probably a lot, but to them, it's probably like, oh, yeah, that just says
Well, it's
Toshiro
more like a
Mifune.
comic book type thing.
Yeah, it's very nice looking. So I mean, I like that. There's a couple posters on Etsy that have this style, but for like Seven Samurai and stuff. And
Nice.
do I do it? Do I pull the trigger? And then picked up two Thomas Saburo Wakayama, Ogami Ito movies that he was in later on in his career, 1982 and 83. This is Fangs of Darkness, Vengeance, and then Fangs of Darkness 2, Ayusa's Head. Ayusayu's Head. So yeah, these are just, they're carried by the action and Thomas Saburo Wakayama's acting chops. The story's not that good.
Were those
but-
two legit releases or were those boots?
Those are boots as well. So everything I just showed you was boots, but
Jeez.
I mean, it's the only way you're going to be able to own this stuff. I mean, you
Right,
can't even
right.
find this on streaming. You know what's wild is that the guy who owns SamuraiDVD.com, we text back and forth sometimes, and I'll find something that isn't even on Letterboxd. I can't find it on IMDb at all, and I'll be like, "Hey, do you have this?" And he's like, "Yeah, I got it subtitled." It's like, what the fuck? How do you? How?
For
But
a
for
movie nobody's
official
ever heard of.
releases, yeah, but official releases, we got "Come Drink with Me" from
Nice.
Arrow. I posted a review of this on my channel. I think
Really
it's
well
worth the
done
upgrade.
too.
Thank you. I mean, not really, not as good as your review. You're fucking cutting in pictures and scenes and got beautiful lighting. I'm just standing in front of my phone. Yeah, I think this is worth the upgrade if you have the 88 films release. Like I said in my review, that one doesn't have that many special features. This is pretty jam-packed. So, plus, I like the artwork. Whoever's doing the artwork for Arrow's Shaw Brothers singles, like this and the 8 Diagram Bull Fighter, which Orbit DVD got today. Did you see
Already. Yeah.
that? How? This is mind-blowing. And then I got Odd Couple from
Nice.
Eureka. Watched this last night. This is a ton of fun. There is some humor that has not aged well. So there are some very questionable things in this movie that made me laugh. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. which is maybe controversial because I feel like people laud that as the greatest weapons movie of all time. And I don't think that's the case at all. I think it's
Right.
a great film, but not the greatest. But what about you?
I got in a giant package from a friend of mine named Flip. Flip has been meaning to send me this for a while now. I finally got in Five Tall Tales from Indicator. I won this in a raffle, and Flip so graciously sent it to me, and it's beautiful. I'm so glad to have this thing again. And then Flip for Christmas. Why don't you tell everybody about this one?
So Swords Ranger, it's produced by Studio Bones, who does My Hero Academia. It's probably a household name at this point.
Yep.
They produced a film. It's a samurai movie, and it's kind of a coming of age story. It's about a young kid who has to defend. He has to find with himself to defend his village and his people. Really, really beautifully animated, like to the point where it's mind blowing. Um, and I think it's one of the best samurai movies. Period, not just animated. Period of all time. Great
Nice.
climax to that film. Um, I wish they would make a series or make a sequel to that because that's pretty good. It's very underrated too.
And then last thing in Flip's package was Toshiaki Toyota, the early years from Third Window Films. This thing has been out of print for quite some time, and I love the way this is packaged, primarily because of how many discs. I love these when they're set up nicely like this, but then
The
the
colors,
art on the other side is really nice. It's just a really well put together package. And now there's a second collection from Toshiaki Toyota, so
yep.
it's even better. It'll look really good on the shelf together.
Yeah, he's a pretty good director. That those set of movies, the only one that really stuck with me was Porno Star. Um, I like the other two, but Porno Star was really really good, and it's got nothing
Isn't
to do with
Porno
the
Star
best one.
super long?
It's a little long. It's very violent.
Or no, I'm thinking of the other film. I'm sorry. There's another one that
The
was. It's always
the boxing
Love
movie.
Exposure. Is it Exposure?
No, that's Shion Sono. That is
Yes.
like
I wasn't saying same director. Just it gets for
that. That's a marathon.
yeah.
I don't know why it gets compared. Porno Star has like no sex in it.
Right.
It's like it's got nothing to do with porn at all.
Right.
It's a fucking violent movie. Like you go in thinking the name. I think the name is just a clickbait to get you in your
Of
seat
course
to
it
watch
is.
it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a really good box set. I gave that to him for free since he's my best buddy. So,
And I appreciate it.
question for Flip: how does the Specialist compare by Korabuchi compare to his others? Specialist, I think is so. Korabuchi, there's this unofficial trilogy that he made that he dubbed the Mud and Blood trilogy, and it was Django, Specialist, the Great Silence. I do think out of those three, it's the lesser of the three, but I think it's his third best Western. So I mean, he's done other stuff as well, Companeros, but I think the Specialist is great. Eureka did a really nice edition of it. Who else? Who put that out? Kino put it out here in the States,
Yes.
but the Eureka version is really good. Really shows the respect that film deserves. But it's my third favorite Korabuchi. Um, Great Silence, Django, then Specialist. Is how
Nerd says he's trying to find Toshiaki Toyota Years collection, and just FYI for everybody that is sitting at
the
perhaps.
first one, but Porno Star is probably the best one, I'd say. I want to point this out. Food for Thought said, Odd Couple is better than Legendary Weapons. You heathen. I disagree with you. And for that, I'm going to have to call you Sean. All right? So he was on his podcast, he was complaining that people don't say his name right. It's Sean. They call him Sean or Sean. I get it, dude. People call me Philippia, and that pisses me off. Pisses me
Filipio?
off.
Okay. I mean, that just sounds like white people being white. And
Uh,
Flip's frozen.
People.
All right. So, Flip, it's happening again. You are delayed like crazy. Oh man. That was rough. All right, Flip's going to join back in. What we were going to do is talk about what we have watched most recently. So one of the ones that I've watched recently is one that Sardis in the chat is in one of the people that clued me onto this one. I actually did a review for Blood on Her Name on my channel. Really good movie.
Great
It's super
review.
interesting. Thank you. I appreciate that. I feel like I put a lot of work into that one. Everybody should absolutely watch it. It's genuinely really well made.
Did you watch anything this week that's noteworthy?
Yes, that's why I brought that up while you were out. I rewatched Scream in 4K, and I gotta say, that might be one of the greatest first films in a slasher franchise ever. It is so well done. I love that movie, and it holds up so well. I also watched the only other real one that I want to mention on the stream. I'm not going to do a review on it, but Kimmy from Soderbergh is out on HBO Max, and that movie fucking ruled. Did you watch it yet?
I did.
Dude.
I did not like it.
Really?
We should do a whole episode on this. I don't find Zoe Kravitz very charismatic. So
she wasn't supposed to be charismatic in that movie. That was kind of.
I'm talking about in general, like her entire film career. I think I asked you this last week when we talked about Batman. How was Zoe Kravitz, specifically because I can't stand her as an actress.
I can't think of anything that I've ever seen her in besides this movie and the Batman.
She's in a couple of things I've seen. She's like the female Ansel Elgort for me.
I get that, yeah.
She's just like, eh. John says she's not AF. I disagree. But
I think that she really embraced her role in Kimmy and kind of took the idea of it's not really true agoraphobia. It's like pandemic induced public anxiety, basically. And she really I mean, it's something I've not done well with, even, I gotta be honest, over the last like 6 or 8 months. I went to that show a couple weeks ago, or was it last week? God damn, last week. Time moves slow. I went to that show, and like half the time it was just, man, I don't really like being in public. I hate it. And it doesn't help that Kansas City has turned very violent over the last few years. Kansas City's like number 6 on the murder rate in the US over the last few years.
Hell yeah, dude. Exciting.
So yeah, I don't love going out in public that much, and it really hit home the way that she handled it, because a lot of it is like very accurate, the way that it exists and affects people.
Me as a person is like, I'm weird. It's like I thrive personality wise in social situations. Like I feed off other people's energies. I can read them. I can, adjust
right
to like fit their needs and their personality. But most of the time, I really just want to sit on acid. I want to be left alone. So like when I feel like the restaurant is a perfect balance of this, because like when I'm not at the restaurant, when I'm on vacation or taking a break, I enjoy it, but I do miss that eventual, like that need for social interaction. But at the same time, I hate people. So
that's like the entire dynamic in my marriage, because I'm a charismatic introvert. I really only get my energy from myself.
Yes.
But my wife is a shy extrovert. She gets her energy from being around other people, but hates like starting conversation and being center stage and stuff like that. She hates that stuff. So I get awkward, but I'm good at it. And then
John says he missed strip clubs. I've never been to a strip club in my life. It seems dumb. Like, no offense to people. I mean, offense if you want, if you're like your hobby is strip clubs, but I just never found the need to, like, if you want to see tits, just Google tits. I don't know, it seems dumb.
I mean, some people could say the same thing about our hobby. They don't see the need to buy physical media.
That's true. Just Google the movie. That's hey, you know what? That's a good point. That's a great point. And I love those people that are like, oh, I only go for the. It's like, come on, really, you only go for the food? Come on, be honest, brother. You're not
That
going there.
that that is an ongoing joke. Anybody that says that is not serious.
It's like telling people you're watching hentai for the plot. You're not doing that.
How are you going to watch the plot between all the tentacles?
Have you seen Bible Black?
I've never heard of Bible Black. That
It's
sounds like a
it's
rapper
terrible.
from Atlanta.
Bible Black. That does actually sound like Robert from Atlanta. It's a infamous hentai. It's the only hentai I've ever seen, solely because the dub is so fucking. It's so like the voice, like the people who are doing it are so dry, and the shit they're saying is so ridiculous. Um, Flip shitting on Zoe Kravitz and strip clubs. Why do you hate hot women? I don't hate my wife. She's hot. I don't hate my mom. She's hot.
All right.
Nah,
What is going on?
this is a fun episode already. Nah, what?
So, did you watch anything else this week that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I watched Sterling Bloody Sword from Golden Ninja Video.
Nice.
That thing is. I can't even explain how bonkers that is. It's batshit insane. It makes no sense. It's just craziness, and I love it. I'm thankful that. Did they do that scan themselves?
That one.
Because it's from the only surviving print.
I don't think they did that one. I think the one that they're about to put out is the first one that they scanned themselves.
Okay, because what I like is first off, Justin is that the curly haired guy?
Yes.
He is super charismatic.
And
Like,
as far as I'm aware,
charming.
he is the only one behind Golden Ninja Video.
And he has a YouTube channel too. Did you know that?
Yep, I've
I
been
didn't know that
subscribed
till
for
recently.
a very long time. Yeah,
He is so charming and so smart and like very
and he has a
very
podcast,
articulate. What? Fuck, man. All right, you need to tell me that off air what his podcast is, because I need something to listen to. But what I liked is that he had an introduction right before, and he does a commentary too for that for the movie. And then his introduction was like, "Hey, look, the scan is literally the best thing, like the best version of this film that we have. Everything else is lost. This is the only surviving print. So you're gonna see a lot of hair in the print, a lot of burn marks. But I feel like that stuff for that type of movie gives it flavor, if that makes sense. Like it's like when you're cooking with a cast iron skillet. You know what I mean? You don't want it to be a brand new cast iron skillet. You want the one you've been using for 20. Yeah, it's got to be seasoned. And for that type of movie, for what's happening in that movie, it fits it perfectly. And it's just a cast iron skillet of a film. It's just crazy. If you're not even into martial arts cinema or wuxia or kaiju or monster movies, watch it anyways. It's fucking crazy. John Stump says Justin's a walking encyclopedia of film. Yeah, he seems like it.
For anybody that would be interested, because it's not just Flip, but I will remind you afterwards because I know you'll forget. Justin Decloux is the guy. That's how you say his last name, Decloux, and it's DECLOUX. And he is a part of the Important Cinema Club podcast. That is him and his friend Will Sloan. And then he also, I don't know if it's still ongoing. In fact, I feel like it's not. But he also had a podcast called No Such Thing as a Bad Movie.
I would disagree with that statement.
That's why you should listen to it.
But yeah, just blown away by their work. I actually emailed them. I was like, "Hey, do you have any extra copies of Blood of the Dragon?" And he was like, "No, I'm so sorry, but we have lots of martial arts based cinema coming." And I was like, "Fuck!" I was like, "Fuck yeah, dude! Thank you. I'm so excited." Just like how nice he seems, how happy he seems. I'm gonna support that label from. I actually ordered their Jackie Chan exploitation set. Surprised that's not out of print. That's got Mystery of Chess boxing.
Yep.
I ordered one of the Sword Sandal movies that they did.
John says that podcast, No Such Thing as a Good Movie, is ongoing. It's every other Friday. Last episode they did was Predator 2.
I like Predator 2. Do you like Predator 2?
It's not the best, obviously, but it's not awful. I think I kind of go into any of the Predator films just kind of expecting I'm not gonna be blown away by cinema or anything.
What else did I watch? I watched Odd Couple. Obviously, I talked about that recently. I watched The Last Samurai by Kinji Mizumi. I picked that up I think 2 weeks ago. It's the final film he made before he died, um, and it breaks my heart because it feels. I've been going through. I've been doing this thing, and I haven't really talked about it. But I've been doing this thing where like I'll pick my favorite directors and I'll watch the last movie they made before they died. And like for instance, Sergio Leone was his last movie was Once Upon a Time in America. This huge epic,
Yep.
massive. And this is a 2.5 hour samurai period piece. That's an epic, and it's so well done. And it's just sad to see what else they could have done in their lives.
Right.
Especially, I think Leone was about to do a World War II movie with Robert De Niro.
Jeez.
I'm sure people like John Stump will pointed out exactly what that movie is. I forgot what the title is, but he was about to do this massive war movie with Robert De Niro, and it was going to be like his life's work, and then sadly passed. The script was finished, I believe. But yeah, The Last Samurai is really, really good. It's like towards the Stalingrad. That's what it. Thank you, Jeff K. Stalingrad is the film that he was working on. But yeah, The Last Samurai, man, it's really moody. There are parts of his signature violence in that movie, but the most part, it's a character-driven plot, and it's just fascinating. Uh, really sad. He died in 1975, and that released in '74. So, but great film. Highly recommend it. And then I watched a bunch of just crappy kung fu movies on the Wu Tang Collective on YouTube. But the one I want to talk about is the Wandering. It's either Wandering Monk or Killer Priest or Killa Priest. I hated it the first time I watched it, and then for whatever reason I rewatched it. And the end fight is great, fucking solid movie. Yeah, follow me on Letterboxd. I pretty much log random Asian films that, like as
Flips
John
like
said,
Flips one of the first 4 people to log a film.
yeah, it's one of my favorite things is when I watch something and I'm like, wow, that was awesome. And I go to log in, I'm like, wow, I'm the only person who's logged this. This is great. Or what I love is that I have a stack of like 12 samurai movies that aren't on Letterboxd that I have to log myself eventually. And I'm just like, I'll get around to it eventually.
Yeah. So tonight we are talking about coming of age films. Without naming some of your favorites, you want to share? I mean, obviously, you said you're not a huge coming of age fan, but any thoughts on the genre?
Um, it's weird because after you said let's do coming of age, I immediately was like, all right, it's gonna be tough for me to pick coming of
Right.
age movies. But then I'm like thinking back and I'm like, what movies had the largest lasting impact on me? And one of them, Dazed and Confused. I would say that's a coming of age film, and that
Oh, it's absolutely coming of age film.
left
It was
a
pre-2000, so it's not tonight, but
yes, but it left such an impact on me as a kid.
yeah.
I grew up an only child, and it's just I'm so lonely. I used to watch that movie all the time because I felt like I was there with a group of friends. Um, but yeah, great film. And one of the films I'll talk tonight. Well, I'll talk about it tonight. And I'll probably get a little emotional about it. Is a coming of age movie that means a lot to me. So, but yeah, I
I
think it's a genre that if done right can stay with you forever.
I agree, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to go over it tonight. Because I have gone into a lot of coming of age films expecting to be put off, and for some reason, and again, we both have talked about shitty childhoods and growing up in let's say less than optimal situations previously. Um, because of that, I frequently will go to a coming of age film and find a couple things. Either find something that I can really relate to, or be jealous of people in situations that are so much better than I could have had. And it's one of those things that kind of fucks you up psychologically because I'm at a point right now. I don't know, am I crazy for thinking something's possible, and is something still not being the way that I'd love it to be in my house right now? And I've got kids, and I want a better life for them, but I don't want to do anything, unreasonable. I don't want to put them in a situation where they feel too much pressure like I did or anything like that. So life is hard is what I'm getting at, which makes
Life
coming of age
sucks.
films. Yeah, it really does.
It sucks, dude. I like, like when you were a kid, did you like? And I'm sure we had very similar interests, but like I remember like skateboarding and listening to like Sum 41, like 182,
Yep.
Brand New and stuff, and just being like, man, life sucks. And now I would give anything to go back for a summer night, hanging out with friends, skateboarding, listening.
That's the difference. I don't ever want to go back to anything from back then. I would probably start at like 25. Anything pre 25 for me sucked hard.
There's a weird period in my life where I got out of a toxic relationship. I had just lost 130 pounds. I'm not gonna toot my own horn, but I was very fucking hot for 6 months of my life. And I met my wife, and we got married, and she started cooking for me, and it all went downhill. But for about 6 months, I was super attractive, and I got attention from women that I was never used to, and I never
Right.
did anything with it. And I was trying to find myself in there as well, because like when you go from being fat your entire life to losing weight to start taking care of your appearance, like you guys have seen, I let my shit go. I look like a fucking wart, a walking wart, a war hog is what I'm trying to say. But when I started taking care of myself, but then you have this ego that starts to come up, and you have to find it within yourself to kind of like suppress the cockiness and the rudeness and the crudeness. So I went through a phase where I was peak physical shape in my entire life, and all I did was drive around by myself, listening to Brand New in the country, windows down, just wasted.
We really did a lot of the same things. Like I lost a shit ton of weight. I never had the ego. I had body dysmorphia, and I thought I was still 300 pounds overweight.
See, I thought that too, but I've been cocky my whole life. So I was cocky when I was fat. So when I lost weight, it got even worse.
That's true. I've never been cocky. I think I'm a piece of shit that deserves to die. So.
No. Did I ever tell you the story? I don't know if I should say this because Taylor's the other. I went on a date with a girl, and we're driving back to her place, and she lived on campus, so there was like not parking. And she goes, "Hey, do you want to come inside?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll park the car." I had a panic attack, and I drove home. I ghosted her.
She's still waiting on the curb to this day.
She's still waiting. But that's the kind of loser I am. I feel like if we would have met in our like 24 or 23, we would have just been best buds. Like, hey, do you want to go be mopey by ourselves? I didn't know what to do, nerd. Nerd said, "What the fuck, bro?" Dude. And I do want to point out this comment from Future Boy. Flip is full of useless information. I know. You comment this every podcast. You make a dig at me. You're a fucking loser on the internet. But yes, I am full of useless information. I'm a loser, and I'm self-proclaimed loser. Who wants to know, is The Professional a coming of age
film? I mean, it's kind of hard to define. With the coming of age film, like, do they have to be a certain age, or?
I mean, there's like, I wish there was more movies catered towards dads that didn't make the dad look like a complete idiot, where he's trying to find himself in like a midlife crisis situation, because I feel like almost every age group and demographic has a movie to kind of not like guide them through life, but like, show them that they're not alone, except for dads, middle-aged, 30-year-old, 40-year-old dads.
There's one specifically I didn't pick tonight, primarily because of that feeling, amazingly. That it showed a piece of shit dad, and I've never appreciated the way they did that. It's realistic, so I can't complain about
which movie?
That, but Boyhood. I think Boyhood is first of all incredibly innovative, obviously, and a beautiful movie. But I really don't like the way that it had to be the dad that was just kind of a piece of shit that was absent for so long.
Stardust says my coming of age films were the early '70s. The Sterile Cuckoo, for example, it dealt with awkwardness in relationships. I've never even heard of that.
I haven't either, but awkwardness in relationships is so damn important. One of the movies I picked tonight is because of the awkwardness in the film. That when you're going not just through puberty, but when you're going through that age and beyond, just like Flip just brought up, shit gets awkward as hell.
Oh my! Can I tell an awkward story?
Maybe.
So when I met Taylor, when I first saw her, kind of like how you said you had body dysmorphia. In my mind, I was still almost 400 pounds, so I was like, she's out of my league. And we were talking one night, and she's like, "Hey, I'm getting off in 15 minutes." It was like 4 I'm like, "Hey, do you want to go Subway?" And with me and my friend, and she's like, "Yeah, sure." It was snowing out that night, like pouring down snow. So we parked like a block away, walked to the Subway because it's on the college campus road, so there's no like parking directly in front of us. We parked a block away, and I was like, "Hey, you want my jacket?" So I'm walking in the snow with tennis shoes, gym shorts, and a cut-off tank top, freezing my ass off. Get inside, and I was like, "Hey, you pick the sandwich." She picked. I don't know what it was not good. And she goes, "Do you like it?" I go, I meant to say yes. I love what you picked out. And I go, "This fucking sucks." She was like, she was offended. And then when I asked her out on a real date, she blew me off.
I get it. You told her sandwich fucking sucked.
Yeah, she blew me off, and then I saw her that night, and she was like, "I had a panic attack. Sorry. You want to try again?" And I was like, "Boom, got her pregnant that night." Just kidding.
Sardis says the Sterile Cuckoo is a Liza Minnelli film. She could act her ass off back in the day.
Liza Minnelli underrated.
I would say definitely so.
Liza Minnelli underrated. Who said chivalry is dead? John Woo did when he made Last Hurrah for Chivalry.
Oh, Asian cinema puns. Do you want to get started with the list? Do you have a full 5?
I don't have a full 5. I have about 3.
Okay, so I have 5, and of course, 2 honorable mentions. But the honorable mentions I wanted to bring up because I kind of lumped them together at this point now, and I want to say that for the last 20 years, in terms of comedic coming-of-age films, Superbad and Booksmart are the perfect duo of the awkward stage of coming into yourself, going from high school to the next grade of life, basically, but also they are so realistic, and they are done in a way that actually depicted the way things were. Like Superbad, now, if you view it now, it is this incredibly accurate, like, period piece from 2006.
Yeah,
that is so weird how exact it was from high school around that time. Everything, it was like, dude, I saw this happen in real life.
I was Jonah Hill.
On film.
I was Jonah Hill. Like, that's I felt that. I was the fat dude wearing the button-down flannels with a shirt underneath. That was me. I was him. That movie's a classic because it's real. Like I feel like every demographic of person has experienced Superbad in some way. Great.
If they were a teenager between like 2000 or like 1998 and 2010, anytime in there, you probably understand it.
Yeah, and like my parents have seen it. Like they know what McLovin is. You know, like that just became. Cohen says, was I good at drawing dicks? Yes. Incredibly good. Sora says, I met my wife in a club shooting pool. She wanted to dance, and I don't dance, but I had to get my arms around her, so I did. We ended up both in jail on our second date. 30 years on a roller coaster.
Sardis, you're amazing.
Sardis, you can't say a comment like that without context. You can't be like casually telling a story. It's like a second day we were in jail. Love this woman. 38 years of marriage. Great. What the fuck happened? So do you want to go first with your pick, or?
Yeah, I'll share my first 2, and that way you can get tied up there.
You share one because I just came up with it.
Got it. So
and
my
I'm
number
sure
5.
Overlap.
I feel like this is one I brought up on the show before, but I adore Eighth Grade. This is
That
the
was one
one
of my
that
picks. Yes. Yes.
this is the one that I alluded to about awkwardness earlier. Eighth Grade is probably the most awkward movie I've ever seen, other than like if you go into Napoleon Dynamite expecting high cinema. But Eighth Grade is amazing in the sense that it captures the youth of today in a way that I don't think I did not think it was possible to get it that way. The constant electronics, the worrying about what other people think of you, the making a live TikTok for 3 views every day or whatever that she's doing. It is crazy how real it is, and then on top of that, it is acted in a way that for a no-name actor before this film, she embraced everything. On top of that, directed by one of the most brilliant minds of our artistic life, who's he's like your exact age almost.
Bo
You're
Burnham,
like, yeah, he
30.
is 6 months older than you. That's it. But the movie is amazing, and I just realized looking at my stack that I am going to appear as if I am an A24 devotee, even though I'm really not. But that was the first one, and I still have 2 more from them coming.
My first pick is Easy A. Now that came out. That came out the year I graduated high school. I saw it by myself, random, right? Like my best friends were out of town. My parents were out of town. I was like, what do I do? It's a Monday. I'm off work, 9 o'clock. Let's go see a movie. What's playing? Easy A. I was like, all right. I watched it, and it hit an emotional chord with me because I was at that age where, yeah, high school was past me, but I was still not used to not being in high school. And I really enjoy that film. I think Emma, what's her name?
Stone.
Emma Stone is just phenomenal in that movie. Her dad is that Stanley Tucci in that
Stanley
film.
Tucci. Yeah.
He is hilarious in that movie. Just such a good film, just all around, and with a good message as well. But yeah, that's a movie that when I watched, I was at the right place, right time. Wouldn't have seen it if it wasn't like I had nothing else to do, and I ended up becoming
Right.
one of my favorite. Now the dog's eating food off the table. Priscilla.
I forgot about this movie for some reason when thinking of my list for tonight, and I want to point out that Stanley Tucci is like the definition of what we just talked about with dads. He is an incredible dad in this movie. He is on top of things.
Yes.
He's witty. He is empathetic. He is not like a blundering idiot. He is so on point with everything. Stanley
My
Tucci.
friend, because Stanley Tucci's character, he adopted a black son, and my friend adopted a black son, and he didn't tell me that he adopted a black. Because my friend is very tall, very nerdy, World of Warcraft type of guy, super, like just. So when he said, "Hey, I adopted a child," I was like, "Oh, good for you guys." And then he showed me a picture of his child, and I go, "Oh, looks just like you, Kurt." and then and then and then he adopted another black son, and again didn't tell me, didn't like prepare me because I'm a smartass. I'm like, I'll work off the cuff.
I wanted to point out,
I
Dave
love you.
says when he thinks of coming of age, he thinks of John Hughes. I agree completely. John Hughes is everything for coming of age. However, tonight was 21st century because I really feel like the 80s and 90s were chock full of great coming of age films, but there are a lot from the 2000s that just get overlooked somehow. So I wanted to point those out, but we can easily do another episode on coming of age just
Yes.
from the 80s and 90s eventually.
Yeah. But what I was saying was my friend shows me a picture of his other adopted son, and I go, and it reminds me of the same humor from Easy A, but I go, what are you guys doing, building a basketball team? I go, you know, these kids aren't like Pokemon. You can't collect them all. Like, what are you doing? He was like, wow, that's a good one. Thanks. I'm gonna use that next time. But it reminds me of the relationship with Stanley Tucci and his son in that film. Just see, we need more dads like that in movies.
I
We
agree.
don't have enough. We don't have. I'm so tired of dads being fucking idiots. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. It feels. We should show moms being fucking.
The dad trope I think is a much bigger problem in TV, but
Yes.
it's certainly true in movies. I mean, they're like the movie Poltergeist. Obviously, it's a classic, but not enough people talk about it in terms of the fact that we have an incredible set of parents in that movie that genuinely love each other. Like, there's no tension in the movie because the parents are fighting. They make smart decisions. They care about their kids. I mean, the kids go to bed and they smoke pot and hang out and have fun. Like, it's a normal, good life, and that's so rare with movies like that.
I think coming of age television shows, because you brought up TV shows. I think a good dad was Corey Matthews' dad in Boy Meets World.
He was decent, yeah.
He was decent. He was just a hardworking guy, but most of the time they're
Yeah.
like, like
Right, like Home Improvement. Tim Allen fucking
yeah. Oh,
making a lawnmower fly through the sky or something.
yeah. Oh. Do you want to address that comment right there?
There's a few here. So first of all, Mean Girls was really good, is what Nerd
That's
says.
my
Mean
next
Girls,
pick, so we'll talk about that in a second.
Mean Girls is a classic. Brick. Flip does not love Ryan Johnson, but I love Brick. Brick is such a great movie. Sardis has a really good point. Coming of age films to me are films that connect when you were coming of age yourself and saw them. I think one of mine is definitely that. Actually, it's my number one, so I'll come back to that in a minute. But like Dazed and Confused is like that for Flip. I completely understand. And then John says 2021's Licorice Pizza has a chance to be a timeless coming of age classic. I can see it being the one Oscar nomination that's still talked about 10 plus years from now, which it sounds crazy. I really need to see it. I've wanted to see it all year.
Do they explain why the title's Licorice Pizza?
I'm not sure. Probably.
Sounds
awful. I
awful.
feel like it was the name of the restaurant or bar or something like that.
Sounds disgusting. Licorice Pizza?
So, you want to talk about Mean Girls then?
Yeah, do you want to talk about Mean Girls?
It's not one of my picks, but go ahead.
It's a perfect movie. I think that is a perfect movie. That movie is incredible. You got a great cast of gals. You got Lindsay Lohan, Rachel McAdams. You got Amanda Seyfried, and I don't know the other one. Probably I mean she's not in anything noteworthy after this movie. So the one that's like I got ESPN. No, that's Amanda Seyfried, where she goes, I got ESPN or something.
Yeah.
Probably the best gay character in any movie ever is in this movie. I adore him. And then who's like not the goth girl, but the punk girl? Who is that?
I don't think she did much of anything else either. So
Because she looks like, I can't think of the girl's name, but Andrew WK's fiance. She looks. Do you like know what I'm talking about? I don't know who the actress. She's probably more popular than Andrew WK, but for some reason my brain.
Let me look it up.
My rotted, deteriorated brain.
Let's see. The punk girl. Lizzie Kaplan. Oh, she's done all kinds of stuff. I don't know why I was thinking that she hasn't done anything else. She just looked a lot younger then.
But do you see where I can kind of get where she looks like?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I think that movie is incredible. So fucking quotable. Like even stuff that you can't say in normal context, like I have a heavy flow and a wide set vagina, is just so like you say that in front of anyone who grew up in the 2000s, they're gonna know that you're quoting me.
Yeah.
Just fucking great.
I think easily one of the best cast of a comedy of all time.
Yes, and it felt like, I mean, I don't watch a lot of comedies, but it felt like there was a period between like 2004 and like 2010 where comedies were just fucking just. Yeah. So,
but one of the main reasons that was so good, it was written by a comedic genius. It was written by Tina Fey herself. So
it was written by Tina Fey. She looks just like my Aunt Josie.
You're lucky because Tina Fey is hot.
Don't you fucking say.
You just called your mom hot.
Because she is. I'm just and then Jennifer
show has
Aniston
a weird narrative.
And then Jennifer Aniston has looks like my Aunt Susan. So, and my cousin Sophie looks like Natalie Portman. So it's like anytime they're in a movie, I'm like, it's probably funny.
So my number 4 is another A24 film, and that's Lady Bird.
That was my other pick.
Jesus Christ.
We're on the same wavelength.
Lady Bird is fucking incredible. It
Yeah.
is incredibly well acted. I never remember her name. Shit.
She's got a weird name. It's a little.
Not Saoirse Ronan. Her mom, Laurie Metcalf, the one who was in Roseanne. Really realistic, great acted mom. Obviously, there's a lot that happens in this film that I can't relate to because I was not a female at that age. But it is a film that really captures that growth from not necessarily like child to adult, but child of a parent to peer of a parent. And it hits home in that aspect really well. And it's something for example, like my wife is still fighting that. Like her parents both still call her like children and child and kid and stuff like that, and they don't treat her like she can make adult decisions. And
my dad literally the other night, he made a pizza for me and Taylor. He wrote on the box the kids pizza. So
it is something that it captures that in that film just really well, of making that change. And not a lot of movies can do that, because that transition is not easy to capture either. It is something that is very nuanced and generally takes a lot of time, but in that film, it really grasps it.
It's going to be interesting because I have a daughter. It's going to be interesting to revisit that movie in 20 years and see like how I relate to it as a parent.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, great movie. I think, who's the main actress?
Saoirse Ronan.
Incredible performance. Like, one of my favorite
great.
performances. Might be my second favorite A24 film, behind Good Time.
Yeah, I could see that.
Which I would argue Good Time is a coming of age movie.
In a sense, yeah.
I almost included it on my list because it's got like, for me, I love movies that take place over a very visible space of time. Like, like it's like one night and then the day after. It feels like he, in that movie, Robert Pattinson's character is realizing all of his mistakes, all of his fuck ups, and he is coming to his senses. But by the end, it's too late.
The world comes crashing down all at once.
Yeah, and great film.
Incredibly tense film too.
Very intense, like Fire in the Circus.
I guess I should go to my next one since I keep taking yours.
Yes. Yeah, you just keep. Yeah.
My number 3 is going to be coming up on the screen because it's buried in my closet, and I do not want to go pick it up. And here it is. I adore Adventureland. I
Never
think
seen it.
that this is really. So Adventureland is the story of somebody that is preparing to go off to college, and it's his last summer before college, so he has to go work at the local amusement park to be able to go. He is worried about his family being able to care for it. He starts to fall for Kristen Stewart, and she is unfortunately hung up on the local stoner, Ryan Reynolds. And I mean, look at this cast. Ryan Reynolds, Lex Luthor, Kristen Stewart, Bill Hader, and Kristen Wiig are the main people. And it is so absolutely well acted. Kristen Stewart, it might be one of my favorite films from her, even though it is such a low-key, like subversive performance. And then she actually acts. A lot of people have never liked her because they've never dove into anything past like Twilight and a couple other movies. But
Personal Shopper, Spencer, she's fucking great.
She ruled in Underwater even, and she carried that whole film.
Love that movie because of her.
Yep. But Adventureland, even Fu here says Adventureland is one of the most underrated movies of all time. It's incredible.
Who's the director?
Is. It's like a no-name. I think it's a no-name. Before I say that, let me look it up, because it's somebody that I don't even remember for directing. It's from 2009. It's done by Greg Mottola. So it's not necessarily a no-name. He did Day Trippers. He directed Superbad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he has done. He did Paul, which everybody hated.
Paul Blart Mall Cop?
No, the Seth Rogen Alien movie, Paul.
Oh, God. Did they make a sequel to that?
No.
My next pick, a little unconventional. Raw.
Oh, nice. Is this your number
That
2?
this is technically. I mean, God, I don't know. I think I said 4 so far. Because you stole like half my list. Um, but yeah, Raw is a coming of age movie disguised as a psychological horror movie, directed by the same lady who directed Titan or Titan.
Yep.
Very unnerving, very uncomfortable to watch it as a male. So warning about that if you guys have triggers for that. And then I'm gonna throw another unconventional one out there: a kung fu coming of age movie, 36 Chambers of Shaolin. That is totally a coming of age movie.
What year did that come out?
Oh shit! Sorry, that's right. Never mind. Never mind. Never mind. Scratch that. Record drop. Record scratch. But yeah, I think that's my list. I would say, actually, no, I would say Coda. Coda would be my number one, just because I've seen it recently, and it's a very heartfelt.
I still have 2 to share. You can wait to talk about that.
Okay. Oh, ooh, you put it on your list?
No. My number 2 is Moonlight.
Moonlight. God, yeah.
Moonlight is beautiful and genuinely it's kind of obviously it is a coming of age film, but I almost refer to it more as a self-discovery film. It is a film that really makes people introspective and is acted in a way. I mean, it won Best Picture for a reason. The movie is incredibly beautiful. It is it is breaking down stigmas. It is something that has a driving soundtrack. It's got beautiful scenery, just relationships that are tangible, which is hard to find in a lot of movies, especially like lower kind of budget movies like this. And it's made in a way that makes you want to be, like, that was a good movie, but what's the next chapter? I want to find out what's happening with these people still. And I mean, that's such a necessary point of some of these films, that you can tell if it's good enough because you want to see more. It's not, that was too long. I'm dying to see the next chapter in this story.
Yeah, that movie is incredible.
Yeah.
What's your number one?
My number one got a mention in the comments tonight, and I purposefully went over it. But I want to say that I think that Almost Famous is one of the best coming of age films of all fucking time. I think that this movie connects because I am such a music person at heart. Grew up in marching band and church choir and playing bass and buying a drum set and buying everything else that I could to get my hands on, just to try to get into music, volunteering for a radio station, and then hoping that I could do something to attach myself like this. And I mean, my life is still like this. I host shows in my living room. I have friends in bands. I've been in multiple music videos. I love everything around music. And this has like the dream of a kid that loves music. And it is acted in such a way that, I mean, it's so hard to talk about. Cameron Crowe kills this film. He is such a great director and really pulls out performances that I didn't expect. Like Kate Hudson, I've never loved, and she's beautiful in this. Even what the hell's his name? Jason Lee or whatever. The guy that was a skater.
Yeah.
And then he was in My Name is Earl. Yeah. He was like not insufferable in this. I almost forgot about this, but this came out in 2000, so it barely made tonight's list.
The first time I saw that movie, we watched it in drama class. The teacher played Almost Famous for us, and blew me away. Watching that in a room full of thespians was a wild experience. So I love them.
It's great.
What has the director done after that?
Cameron Crowe has done all kinds of stuff. By the way, other names I wanted to mention this: Billy Crudup kills it. Zooey Deschanel is in this. Anna Paquin And then Frances McDormand, one of the best performers of literally all time. She is great in this. Since then, he has not done some great movies. He did Aloha, We Bought a Zoo, Elizabethtown, Vanilla Sky. He did Jerry Maguire.
Wait, he did Vanilla Sky?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's got a few bangers.
Yeah, I mean, his first movie was Say Anything.
What's his most recent?
Aloha in 2015. That was the shitty, excuse me, shitty Bradley Cooper and Rachel McAdams and Emma Stone romantic comedy.
Of course. Well, Ryan's dying.
Almost Famous. I love this movie. This is probably one of the movies that I can watch the most and not get tired of.
I really like. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say one of my favorites. I've talked about this before. I really like Failure to Launch. Like, I love that movie. I've watched it more than any other movie in my entire life because it was on Netflix at one point. I used to watch it every single day during. Sit there and watch the movie.
John DeMarsico in our comments says, sticking with the A24 theme, did you guys catch Waves in 2019? A different take on the coming-of-age film, probably a little darker than most. Phenomenal performance by Kelvin Harrison Jr. I've been trying to get Flip to watch Waves for like the last 5 months. Waves, it hits so hard. The one thing that I like about that film is that the climax is in like near the end of the second act, and it gives you the third act to catch your breath. And it's done in such a beautiful way. Cinematography freaking killed it in that movie. Colors in that movie are just astounding. Again, yes, the main character, Kelvin Harrison Jr., great. Lucas Hedges is in it. He's great. Sterling K. Brown, a lot of people love him because of This Is Us and everything. He was in it and amazing as a really good, strong dad. But yeah, it's kind of a hard.
I'll bump it up my watch list. And I want to point out Foo's comment. Let Me In and Let the Right One In is definitely dramatic horror, but also yes, 100%.
Absolutely,
100% agree.
And they're both really well done. Obviously, yeah, I do think Let the Right One In is good, but the Let Me In remake is not bad.
How do you feel about Pitch Perfect?
I've not seen the third one. I think that the first one is great. The second one is fun.
I love all three. Big fan. Now, here's an orthodox pick because they're not directly coming of age movies, but I feel like they tie so close together to it ties so specifically to a specific generation of men, and that's the Jackass.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you grew up with the Jackass guys, no matter where you're at in your life, no matter how mature you are, no matter how much you've changed, when a new Jackass movie comes out, every male who has been around since the first one gets excited. It doesn't matter. It ties. It's not a coming of age movie, but it's got it holds such a special place in so many people's hearts.
It's a cultural touchstone for sure.
It's so weird. It really is. It's so weird to say that Jackass is a cultural touchstone.
Millions of people have watched somebody on TV put a Hot Wheels car in this guy's butt.
Oh my! I love that, dude. I've told this before. I used to watch it with my Italian grandmother. She loves those movies. She thinks they're fucking hilarious. Oh, The Perks of Being a Wallflower. How did we forget that?
It's a good one. Stendhal says Mallrats. I love that movie, but it was 1995.
That was a good year. 95.
You were 3.
Yeah.
Let the Right One In is definitely a coming of age film.
It's a great film. I should watch that. I should make Taylor watch it. She would love it.
It's great. My wife loved it too. And then everybody is mentioning City of God.
Is that just called Heaven?
No.
Isn't the City of God just heaven?
No.
What do you think heaven's like? Do you think it's cool?
I think it's non-existent.
What? Crazy of you to say. I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like, Christian music sucks. It's like that.
The sad thing is, I still love so much of it.
No. Like this stuff that we like gets a huge. But I'm
Yeah.
talking about like top 20. Like
Right.
you're not gonna turn on a Christian radio station and hear Impending
K-Love,
Doom.
yeah.
Yeah, you're.
Oh, Impending Doom is so good live.
They're so fucking brutal. I showed my wife the song Murderer, and it's just like, we have to murder Satan. Fucking kill him. It's like, whoa, shit. I hated those Jackass films along with that Fried Chicken or whatever film.
I think you're saying Kentucky Fried Movie.
Never even heard of that. What is it?
It's got like a very National Lampoon feel.
Van Wilder? Is that coming of age movie?
No, well, technically yes, but
So you know that's based. You know who Bert Kreischer is?
yeah.
So Van Wilder is based on him.
Yep.
He in the last 2 years has been filming a movie called The Machine, based on his famous Machine bit where he went to. Have you heard that bit?
Way too many times. I hate that he's genuinely famous because of this one story.
I love him. I think he's hilarious. But Mark Hamill's playing his dad in the movie. But what's fucking wild is that they went to Russia before all this shit happened, and now the movie might get canceled because of what's happening out of protest.
John says, I didn't like Impending Doom live. After their set, they're like, God bless and pray more. I was like, WTF. Yes, they definitely do that. There's a lot of bands that are like that.
Hell yeah.
There was I went to fuck. Do you remember who Haste the Day is from Indianapolis?
Oh yeah.
They're
Haste
huge.
the Day, hell yeah.
So
yeah.
I went to see Haste the Day. They were headlining, and do you remember the band The Sleeping? They were huge. They had that song "Don't Hold Back" that everybody loved. So they opened, and then I think it was From Autumn to Ashes played, and then Haste the Day.
That's a good lineup.
It was a great lineup.
Great lineup.
So Don't Hold Back is the opening band for this uber Christian band. Like Haste the Day was super Christian for a long time, and so everybody that's here was all emo Christians, and The Sleeping comes on stage, and they were like, "Yeah, who likes to have sex?" Nobody said anything.
Did they do that on purpose to troll?
Yes, they were like,
so
"All right,
good, dude.
Here's our song," and then they started playing. It was so funny.
It reminds me. I didn't go, but my friend went and saw Lamb of God and Norma Jean at the height of their Christian era, and I was just like, "How was that?" And they were like, "Fucking wild!" It was such a good show.
Yep.
Norma Jean's such a man, dude.
I got tear gassed at a Norma Jean show once.
What? Why?
Because somebody threw one in the pit as the show was ending, just as a prank. Yeah, it sucked.
Yeah, that does not sound good.
The best part though is because this was such a wild show. There was like 1,000 people in like an 800-person venue, and it was in June in Southern California. And because it was so hot, there was literally clouds of sweat at the top of this venue. And near the end of the show, Norma Jean's playing. They have this big song that everybody loved that's like 15 years old by this point.
Memphis Will Be Laid to Waste?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so they break into that, and I'm at the height of like my heaviest. I'm 6'5", so everybody's coming at me in the pit. It was wild. I loved it. But as this is happening to the biggest song of the night, somebody throws in tear gas, and because of the clouds and the humidity of sweat in the air, it all got weighed down. So everybody in the pit felt it first, and because I was taller, it didn't get up to me. And so everybody's like dying and running out of the venue. And I was one of the last to leave. And the band kept playing the entire time because they were on a stage and it was higher than what was going on. It was insanity. That was such a great show.
I wish I could just experience Memphis Will Be Laid live.
It was
that's off of Bless the Martyr and Kiss the Child?
Yep.
Such a good fucking album.
That was when they had their first singer, Josh Goggin, who's in the was in the Chariot, and now he's in his next band.
I was gonna say he was, but I always get him confused and the old singer Front Row, who was in Maylene and the Sons of Death. Did he die?
Dallas Taylor. No, he's actually doing indie films now. He's doing a Kickstarter right now for a indie horror film called The Virginia Bitches. Why do I know this?
Our brains are fucked.
Anyways, the lead singer of Maylene and the Sons of Disaster, he was riding on a quad and came up over a hill and ran full speed into a street sign and got so fucked up, like his left, I think it's his left eye, can't produce tears anymore. So his eye just literally dries out, and he has to wear an eye patch all the time. He couldn't talk for the longest time, and he's up and killing it. John says Maylene ruled. I loved Maylene and the Sons of Disaster. I saw them open one of the weirdest shows of my life. I went to see Zayo headlined at an outdoor RV park, and Maylene opened, followed by Throwdown, and then Zayo.
Oh, Throwdown's great, dude.
So Maylene is insane. They had 7 people on stage because it was still their first album where they were incredible. They had 3 guitarists, and it was wild. 2 of the guitarists got down and ran out and they climbed up in a tree and played multiple songs in a tree because we were in an outdoor RV park. We had one of them found a light bulb and played a whole song with it in his mouth, and then threw it in the air and made it smash on the ground. And yeah, it was incredible.
The moment you said Throwdown, Burn just started playing in my head. Burn! That's such a good jam. God, dude, they don't make music like they used to. No, we're turning into boomers. You know? There's
that was like 17
handful
years ago.
There's like a handful of bands I still listen to that are like Hopper Heights' new album was good. Like a solid album. Taking Back Sunday still puts out shit that I'm like, all right, it's cool.
Yeah.
The Used? Were you ever a big Used fan?
I was never a big Used fan. I got into a couple of the singles, but never.
The first album though, with A Taste of Ink, is like one of my favorite albums.
It's emo classic, yeah.
Dude, it's so good. Oh my god. There was always like within my friend groups, it was always like, who's better, Flogging Molly, Dropkick Murphys? Who's better, Operation Ivy or Rancid? And it was like My Chemical Romance. It's like, who is better?
See, all of those are so easy to answer.
Okay. The Flogging Molly, Dropkick Murphys one is hard.
Flogging Molly, hands down.
Yes, thank you. Okay, I was going to say it. I would say Rancid and Out Comes the Wolves is such a fucking classic.
I would only say Rancid because they were able to make so much more music.
That one, yeah, but And Out Comes the Wolves is like one of the best albums. Do you like Alkaline Trio?
I was never real big into them either.
Really? I was really into AFI for a while. Like the Art of Drowning era AFI up to Sing the Sorrow before they did Miss Murder on December Underground. Man, God, Art of Drowning's so fucking good. Days of the Phoenix is such a good it's such a good song. God,
Sardis says some Jehovah Witnesses showed up when I had company, and I went to the door and read them the riot act. My company saw them running back to my property line.
we have dude. I'll never forget my dad. It's like 7:30 in the morning. We work late, so that's fucking early. And Jehovah's Witnesses knocked on the door. There's a big like boom, boom, boom. Like what the fuck? I was still like probably 14, 13. And my dad's in his underwear, opens the door, sees it's them, and just fucking shuts the door. Doesn't even say a word. They're like, "Hey, we want to talk to you about our Lord and Savior." He's like, "Nope." No. So my parents are Catholic, and we have like a cross on the wall of the restaurant. And this guy comes in. He goes to my dad. He doesn't say anything to my mom, which was very weird. But to my dad, who is like 6 something, he looks like a very unapproachable guy. He's always like this. He's got pressing bitch face. He goes, "I will never be back in your restaurant again until you take down the cross." My dad goes, "What do you believe in?" Like my dad was like, "What?" And the guy goes, "I'm an atheist." And my dad goes, "Get the fuck out. I don't need your money. Get the fuck out. Go." I've never heard my dad cuss out a customer like that. And the dude still orders. He's like a 40-year-old man. Every time I see him, I'm like, "You putz." Yes, I want to point out, John is right. Corpse Grinder's new album. I was trying to explain Cannibal Corpse to my wife. She was just like, "Oh," I showed her Guar. She was like, "This is too much. This is too much."
Yeah, Guar's a lot.
There was who was it? It was the Unholy Union tour. It was like Slayer, Children of Bodom, Mastodon, and Thine Eyes Bleed. And I have the DVD of that show because I fucking love all those movies. I think Lamb of God might have been on it too. Children of Bodom, man, Lexi Leo, when he died, I was so fucking sad because Children of Bodom rocks, and they had a slump, like a couple albums
They
in the middle where,
definitely did.
and then they were like Halo of Blood was great, and then the last one was great as well, and then Lexi Leo died, and I was like, fuck, man. But Are You Dead Yet? Like Pinnacle, like I used to replay that shit all the time. Pinnacle flip music. Dave says, surprised Flip hasn't mentioned Bandmate or Baby Metal. It's because I'm not a weirdo. No, I'm just kidding. I do like both those bands quite a bit. Baby Metal is great. I do like both those bands. Johnson's Black Dahlia Murder is amazing.
I don't know if you have an opinion or want to bring them up, but Discotheque put out quite a lot of announcements yesterday.
Oh my god! So I called Justin, who's the guy who does all the Blu-rays, and I was like, "Hey, are you announcing this thing that they have licensed?" I can't say. Are you announcing this finally? He was like, "I don't think so." And I'm like, "What the fuck are you guys doing? You guys have been sitting on this for 2 years." But yeah, their announcements were great. Astro Boy 2004, I believe, is getting released. And I think their pricing is really fair. I think it's 54 episodes. It's 52 or 54 episodes, and the whole Blu-ray package is 52, plus tax, obviously. I'm excited for most of that stuff. I love Discotheque. They're my favorite anime publisher. The only one I pay attention to because they're licensing classics, doing some deep dives, deep pulls. So, yeah, I saw that you posted about them. You're posting about some anime.
Yeah.
What'd you just link Stardust?
Tough as John Jacobs from Aileen and the Sons of Disaster.
Oh yeah, they announced Uzumaki, so they have a live action line. I know a few of the other live action movies that they have licensed that they haven't announced yet, and they're fucking great. I believe one is a Teruishi film. I don't know if I should say that or not, but one is a Teruishi film. I do like the name Nihon Nights. I do like
it's such
that
a great name.
Such a great name for a line, which is incredible. So, yeah, I'm really pumped about what they have coming. I mean, the thing that I'm excited about is just it's too good. It's fun. I can't. It's so hard not to say.
And no indication on when they're going to announce that because I already know what you're talking about too.
Yeah. No. No indication. Which is just wild. I'm like, you guys. For those who don't know, the average anime license is 7 years. And I believe, and they put out 5 discs a month. 5, not discs, but 5 Blu-ray sets a month. My friend who works for him said that he has enough work to last the next 5 years, I believe. Jeez. Like already, like just licensed. So
they need to pick up some of the announcements then, and not just do it so far apart.
So here's the thing: is that there's announcements every month,
right?
But then they have these things called Discotheque Day, which are like quarterly, where they do like massive announcements. But they are announcing new stuff every single month. So I think the big ones are just to do something for the fans, just to have fun. But,
well, and make it an event. I mean, it's genuinely something that gets a lot of buzz.
Yeah, I mean, anime fans are, and this is coming from an anime fan, they are the biggest pain in the ass fan base ever. Like, I thought Arrow fans were bad. These people are so fucking obnoxious. And just because I'm somewhat related to that group, people will message me on Twitter and be like, "Hey, can you tell them to license this?" I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me? I just am friends with them. It's not like I work for them."
Well, not to mention, like half the time when somebody messages a company to say, "Hey, you should license this," it's one of the most obvious, like everybody knows about this title. Is like they're not waiting for a fan to say you should license this major piece of IP that
you don't think
nobody's
that they
ever
already know?
thought of.
Yeah, you don't think that they already fucking know? One of the things that is, so they're finishing up the J9 trilogy, which is a mecha trilogy. It's not connected in any way. It's just like thematically connected. And I'm glad that they are doing that because they had said in this announcement that what's left of the film for these series, because back in the day, old anime was on actual film. It's not going to survive. Like, it's not going to last much longer. Have you heard the big their big, like the biggest pain in the ass release that they've ever had. It was a major story. Was Cyborg 009. It used to be on Cartoon Network on Toonami. So Japan didn't take care of the masters. So when they acquired the rights and Sony had shipped them what they had, it was all in disarray. Like half the film was corroded. So what he had to do for this 50-something episode series is he had to call television companies in like South Africa, Australia, all around the world, have them send in their masters, and then he had to do episode by episode, splice out the bad film, splice it in with another region's good version of the film.
There's so much work.
So much work. It took him, I think, a year and a half just for that one project. And then when it came out, and they were very vocal, like, "Hey, this is the best that this is ever going to look," because we had to do this. There was articles written on Anime News Network about the process. Justin Sevegas went on a podcast talking about it. People still bitch. Oh, it looks like shit.
Of course, yeah.
And then I think Justin has mastered SD on Blu-ray. Just like he can fit like 90 episodes on one disc, and it looks fucking good. So I will always support Disco 2. They're the best.
Yeah, I'm still laughing at people messaging you telling them to license certain titles. It's like I get people in the Scream Factory group that I'm in charge of on Facebook. They're always like, tell Scream Factory to license Fright Night. It's like, you think the people behind Scream Factory have never heard of the movie Fright Night?
Yeah. Hey, God, dude, Ryan, tell that guy thank you so much. We've never heard of Fright Night.
Hey, can I DM you? Hey, Charles, nobody ever would have thought of this, so thank you so much.
Justin and I, the guy who works for Discotech, we did a podcast called Fan versus Pro. We did it for about a year, and I think that's where a lot of that comes from. Is they're like, oh, they obviously know each other,
right? And
Justin, I think, has said very publicly, like, do not tell me what the license. Like, he hates it. So then they're like, hey, can you tell them the license? This, and this. It's like, dude, no thank you. Anime is expensive to license.
Oh yeah,
like fucking insanely expensive. But yeah, great announcements. We should be getting the Strasco Volume 2 set announcement in a couple weeks.
That'll be end of this month, I'm assuming.
Fingers crossed. I'm wondering what. So, Fanatical Dragon found out that they licensed 48 titles. So
supposedly, yeah, there's going to be at least 3 sets now.
So what I'm wondering is 20. So the 2 sets, that they're both 12, is 24, plus the 2 standalones, 26. They have enough for 2 box sets if one of the box sets is shorter. So I wonder what they're going to do. I recorded a video earlier tonight. I actually recorded a video. It's uploading right now. It should be uploaded tonight or tomorrow, depending on my internet. The guide to collecting Shaw Brothers. So I compiled every single DVD release by company from Region A. So I did not touch the Hong Kong release. So I don't have time to talk about 600 and something movies.
Right.
But it's Dragon Dynasty, Welgo, Media Blaster / Tokyo Shock, Funimation, and Image. And then I did that specifically for the DVDs. And then I talk about which ones are already available on what label. So 88 or Arrow. And then I talk about the likelihood of what titles I think will eventually come up. It's like a 17-minute video. But yeah, going through that list, I think all the Dragon Dynasty stuff is eventually going to come. Like Avenging Eagle, Golden.
I agree there.
Golden Swallow. The Come Drink With Me booklet. You know how Arrow does that thing where they'll say like a star or director, and then in parentheses they'll say like the movie, and then a few months later they announce it. They mentioned Golden Swallow in this, which is the sequel to this movie.
I talked about this on one of my streams recently, and for everybody watching that didn't see it, usually, for example, like Kino is notorious for doing this. They will say like Charles Bronson in parentheses, these 4 films, 3 of them they already put out, and the 4th one they haven't yet. And then 2 months later, they announced that 4th one. Generally, they only allude to films that they have the rights to, unless it's something that they don't have the rights to other films by them, or they're genuinely unable to be recognized from anything else. So, yeah.
Which I personally like, because people were when they were releasing I think Blind Beast, people were like, "We need Red Angel, we need Red Angel," and then I think it was the next release they little parentheses Red Angel, and then
Yep.
came out in January. So, um, but here's the thing, Dave. Here's the thing: is that Shaw Brothers has so many movies, like so many, near 1,000 movies that they produced. That there are things that are 100% worthwhile to license.
I think he's talking about the conversation on people suggesting films to license.
Oh yeah, 100%. But yeah, I also recorded another video, 5 underrated Shaw Brothers movies that are Blu-ray releases, and then if that does well, I'll continue to do that because there's hundreds of these movies. So, but yeah, I think the likelihood is all of the Dragon Dynasty stuff is eventually going to see a release. A lot of the Tokyo Shock, surprisingly, I think is going to see a release too. But then there's like some weird parts in their franchises. Like for instance, Flying Guillotine 1 and 2 have a Region B only release, but when 88 teased their US releases, Flying Guillotine 2 was in the background. So it's like fans are just going to get the second one and not the trilogy. One Armed Swordsman, I think it's a pinnacle of wuxia cinema that has a Region B release. The 2 sequels don't, and I think Return. I think the first sequel with Jing Wang Yu is one of the best sequels Shaw Brothers ever produced. So I feel like now collecting Shaw Brothers movies, if you're not region free, is tricky. And no, the Bay Logan commentary. So John asked, "Is the Bay Logan commentaries ported over?" No. Surprised 88 even worked with Bay Logan in the first place. To be honest, considering he's a little rapey. But he gets good commentaries.
My theory is if they actually licensed 48 titles, and we're getting 12 in the first set, most likely 12 in the second set, and we've already got 2 standalones, that gets us at 26, which means we have 22 left. If the rumored third one is exactly 12 again, that will put us at 38, so we still have 10 more. I wouldn't be surprised if they did 3 to 5 more standalones, and then like a trilogy that they could sell for like $80.
Well, also, if you notice for set 1 and 2, they're going in chronological order. So it makes me wonder what they're going to do with possibly Volume 3. They did say that they want to rectify Kor Yun not being represented. So I'm wondering if they're just going to put out like director focused, like little mini box sets. Like
could be.
Because Kor Yun's got some great films. He's got a lot. They could do a Kor Yun set. They could do a Sun Tung set. They could do a lesser known Chase set. They could do a horror set. I think John's right here. Or a little set of Shaw horror. But then again, they did say none of their licenses, except for a handful, were double dips, and 88 released most of the better known horror movies.
Well, and you know what they could do, which we haven't mentioned yet, is if Come Drink With Me, if One Armed Boxer, if they're doing very well, they could pull a Eureka and literally announce a single title every single month.
Yeah. How do you feel about Eureka, about them doing the One Armed Boxer movie? So someone in the Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society group posted, I think it was Frank Jang, that this is the first in a lot of what Eureka's already released, but Arrow has stuff that Eureka hasn't released as well. Also, Frank Jang posted a screenshot, the ending shot of Mad Monkey Kung Fu. We got Monkey Kung Fu from 88 Films, but it's not Mad Monkey Kung Fu. So he posted the last screenshot of Mad Monkey Kung Fu. I think that's going to be on the Shawscope. He posted the last screenshot and said just wrapped up commentary or something. Didn't directly name the movie, but if you're a fan of that those movies are like, oh, that's fucking bad.
Frank's awesome.
Frank is awesome. Frank is super cool.
I would love some more shot horror. And then, I mean, obviously, double dipping is one thing, but the other thing to remember, it's not worth being upset over Arrow releasing One Arm Boxer after Eureka did, even if.
Oh, I'm not upset at all.
No, I know you're not, but just throwing it out there in the ether for everybody listening. Even if there is no new extras and it's not worth it for somebody else to buy it, there are lots of people that don't import. The people that import are a lot smaller than you think. It's not this huge community of people getting region B releases with region free players. That it's because we are in this little walled garden that we think everybody's doing it, but it's really not as many as you think.
And if you aren't, what the fuck's wrong with you?
You absolutely should be. Yes.
What's wrong with you, dude? It's 2022. What are you doing? Do you want to wrap it up?
Sure. It feels early, but sure.
Taylor and I are gonna watch. Taylor, do you want to watch a kung fu movie?
You should make her watch Let the Right One In.
Oh, you want to watch a horror movie?
A romantic horror movie.
Oh, a romantic horror movie? About vampires? They don't know. It's not Twilight. She was like, Twilight? Whoa. She was like, ooh.
No, about vampires.
So here's the thing, John. So here's what I thought. And the way 80, someone, when they announced that they were going to Region A, someone wrote, would love to see you release 36 Chambers. And they said, what if Arrow put that out in a sequel in a deluxe edition? So I was thinking standalone 2 movies, box set. But I think it was James Flower who said on Twitter that it's in volume 2. So I'm guessing it's going to, so I'm guessing it might be, I could be wrong. I mean, we're going to know in a few weeks. So
hopefully.
What's exactly. But we do know a handful. Like we know 10 Tigers of Kwantung, My Young Auntie, Magnificent Ruffians. There's a few more that are going to be in there. And I do feel like they're playing it safe. They're playing it pretty safe. I think 88's taking the more risks, in my opinion, with these releases. Like Monkey Kung Fu, Shaolin Mantis, Chinese Boxer. I do think Arrow's playing it pretty safe.
That makes sense. But again, it's also the US where a lot of these releases have not gotten, a lot of these films have not gotten like great money invested releases, especially since like the DVD days, where even then a lot of them are like burned in subs and didn't have proper restorations, and it was literally just passion projects for like people like Frank Jang.
I'm glad that Frank's getting a commentary on Arrow, which is arguably a bigger platform than 88.
Oh yeah.
So I'm happy that and I love the artwork for One Arm Boxer from Arrow as well. I think it's great. And John says I'm liking the US 88 releases. I'm loving them, man. They're so nice. I'm always singing the praises. They're just such good releases. High quality.
Well, thanks everybody for hanging out. Hope you enjoyed the talk of coming of age films and then random deep dive into Shawscope or Shaw Brothers at the end. Hope like you tune in next week. What's that?
And next week, I said, like always.
Like always.
Next week, we'll be talking about Lone Wolf and Company. So very excited to announce that Ryan is going to... I'm just kidding.
There are 9 people out there going, there it is, take a shot.
Yep. Take your one shot, guys. I didn't get you too fucked up tonight. So
thanks, everybody. Make sure you subscribe to both of our channels and all that stuff. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good night.
Peace.
See ya.